It's time to change. You can either remain the same or evolve.
I'm always waiting for everything to be perfect before I live my life.
It can either be one day or day one.
You do realize that this could be the year that you change your life if you just lock in?
You know, your new life is going to cost you your old one.
Cannot change your life unless you change something.
It's going to cost you your comfort zone and your sense of direction. It's going to cost you relationships and friends.
A whole 365 days ago, day in and day out towards your goals with no distractions.
It's going to cost you being liked and understood. It doesn't matter. The people who are meant for you are going to meet you on the other side.
Lock in and change your life, like your life depends on it.
You're building a new comfort zone around the things that actually move you forward.
The magic you are looking for is in the work you're avoiding.
Instead of being liked, you will be loved. Instead of being understood, you will be seen. All you're going to lose is what was built for a person you no longer are. I read that in a book called The Mountain Is You. And when you really think about it, the mountain is you.
People don't understand it's you against you.
To reach the top of that mountain, you're going to need to overcome yourself. You're going to have to overcome yourself to get where you want to go. Because it's your comfort zone that is truly holding you back.
Your biggest enemy is you.
During my first 3 years of creating content and working out, I don't know if you can relate, but I'd have this intense hustle motivation for about a week, and then I'd lose it and revert back to my old ways of procrastination and laziness. For them 3 years, I was so frustrated. I didn't understand why I couldn't hold on to that drive, and I felt so disappointed in myself because of it. But now I realize our potentials are actually limitless. If you're tired of holding yourself back, and if you want to bring out this potential, watch until the end and I'll show you how we can unlock this new upgraded version of ourselves and leave the old you behind.
One person with belief overrides 100 people with just intent.
You've got to want it as bad as you want to breathe.
Belief is going after and figuring it out along the way.
And if you want it that bad, if you're willing to give it that much, you get a big piece of what you want.
To get something you never had, you have to do something you never did. One of the biggest things anybody can do that will simply change their whole life is to reprogram their mind. September is when I began to truly turn my life around. I didn't like the direction my life was headed, so I decided to become a man of action. I decided it was time for me to shed my old self and build my new upgraded self. Because when the pain of staying the same is worse than the pain of change, you have no other option but to change. Every day I felt so annoyed that I couldn't focus. Annoyed that I had these great ideas in my head, but I was too lazy to execute them. But now things are different. Realize, to reprogram your mind, it will require you to sacrifice cheap pleasures, because bad habits are what keep you stuck in that stagnant place where you see no growth. One of the best things you can do for yourself is to be strict with your dopamine. Stop doom scrolling, because it is literally killing your motivation. Dopamine is the reward chemical of your brain, and if you're constantly feeling rewarded because of the mindless content you're consuming and from gaming, of course you will have no motivation and drive. In the moment, this cheap dopamine makes you feel like you're succeeding when you're not. And I know it's incredibly difficult to give up these cheap pleasures, but you need to reduce them if you want to succeed. Because once I started to reduce them, that's when I started to see a radical positive shift in my life. Look, you may be saying I can't cut them out, or your mind may be generating excuses as to why you shouldn't reduce them in your head. But understand, to reach your upgraded self, you need to cut out these negative beliefs. And this applies to everything.
We ain't hearing the excuses no more. Your future is tired of that.
My friend told me a really powerful quote recently, and that's, you either win or learn. At the end of every day, on the journey to becoming your best self, you have either picked up some wins or you have learned what doesn't work.
Sun don't stop for nobody, man.
So don't see every failure as a setback, but instead a lesson.
Sun gonna be up in the morning regardless. And at nighttime, the moon gonna be there. And you gonna look up, these days gonna keep going by. So do you let the days go by and look up and you done wasted a year doing what?
And stop beating yourself up over the failure. Just see it as one more way that doesn't work.
Or do you just pick it up? Alright, gotta figure it out, made some mistakes, life goes on. Let me figure out life from this point.
Because what you say about yourself is what you are. So start speaking positively to yourself. The old version of me used to constantly doubt myself, and my mind would generate thoughts on how I wasn't good enough to succeed. Why would I ever get views on YouTube, is what my mind used to tell itself. Why do you think you can learn that editing software? It looks way too difficult. Just go binge watch some anime instead. Or the best lie, you're too tired for the gym today, you can put it off until tomorrow. Once you start speaking positively to yourself, you can recognize this voice for what it is, a liar. After a while of having these positive projections of yourself, even if at the time you don't believe the thoughts that you keep saying to yourself, they will condition your subconscious to actually believe the thoughts as a fact, and you will begin to see positive wins in your life, because you're no longer going into tasks with this terrible mental attitude. Instead of being annoyed you have to go to the gym and making up excuses like you're too tired, your brain will just say, this is what we do. We are men of discipline. If you're constantly reinforcing the thought that you're a disciplined man in your mind, your brain has no choice but to believe it, and so that's what you become. Realize you will be no worse off for speaking forcefully positive to yourself, because what's the alternative? To keep feeding yourself insufficient thoughts about how you're not worthy, how you're not good enough, and why you're not fit to do it? If you want to improve yourself, positive self-talk is essential. I gain a lot of inspiration from fictional characters, and this character Jinwoo perfectly shows how your new life is going to cost you your old one. He's an E-rank hunter, which essentially translates to him being the lowest level hunter in the world. Everybody memes on him for being so weak, and he just accepts it. He understands he's weak, but accepts he can do nothing to change that fact. He can barely make ends meet to look after his sister and sick mother. But then there comes a horrific event, where him and a group of hunters are trapped in a cave, but the stakes are raised. In this cave, if you move, you die. Jinwoo figures out a way for these hunters to escape, which is ironic as he's the lowest level of hunter, but as everyone was escaping and he was sacrificing himself for them, he was filled with intense rage. As he was about to die, he realized how all along it was him who had held himself back. As the higher rank hunters were fleeing, he realized they were no better than him. In fact, they were worse than him. He understood after all that, he held more guts and determination than any of these guys who had laughed at him. He was furious that it took him this long to see that fact, to see that he actually had so much more potential but he never used it. He had allowed the negative perceptions the hunters held about him to infect his own mind, causing him to constantly doubt himself and to believe there was no way that he could improve. But he survives, and through sheer discipline, he trains his mind and body consistently every day, and he eventually ends up transforming into the ultimate badass and becomes the world's strongest hunter. Yeah, he's only a fictional character, but what if you could apply that to your own life? What if we could consistently follow through with the tasks we've set for ourselves every day and train our minds to not let negative perceptions from others hold us back? How great could our potential really be? That's why I feel as though our potentials are truly limitless. The only thing holding us back from reaching our greatest potential is ourselves. You have to understand that your comfort zone is holding you back. To change, it's going to be uncomfortable. But in order to escape your comfort zone, you're going to have to start doing things that you don't want to do on a consistent basis. And I promise you, there's no way you can't grow. When entering your new life, people aren't going to understand what you're doing, and that's okay. People have said, why are you getting up so early for the gym, and why do you never go out anymore? That's what I mean when I say your new life is going to cost you your old one. Some of your old friends aren't going to understand you anymore. People will constantly project their insecurities and negative beliefs on you as you're growing. They're going to see you growing while they are stuck in the same place. But don't resent them for it. They just haven't started their journey yet, or maybe they never will start that journey. But who cares? Instead, use any of the resentment towards you as extra fuel to inspire your growth. Because you can't care what people think of you on this journey, and over time you will truly not care, because once you see how far you've come, you will be too proud to care what anybody else thinks of you. I'd appreciate it if you could like and subscribe to help grow this channel, and peace.